Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As you already know, this is your U.S. General 5-drawer tool cart with side tray and deep compartment. Today is Tuesday, as you can see. We just now making it back over to the storage unit, getting back to it, getting busy as always. Okay. In today's segment, what I would like to do is get out quite a few items and get them to the top of the tool cart so that we can get a little comparison in today's topic and discussion. Okay. But I ain't gonna hold you up too much more longer in the introductory of things. But as I always state, as usual, I always keep my signature lingering somewhere in the background. My Dunkin' Donuts coffee. You already know. Okay? So pretty much I'm about to get quite a few things out to the top of the tool cart. We're gonna dive right into it. So walk with me. Let's get it. Okay, in today's video, as you can see, I have more than quite a few items out sitting at the top of the tool cart. So in today's discussion, we're going to take a look at some hand tools, some core tools, all right, and the many different options that we have, in the field of service and things like that of that nature, and how, all tools are tools, but not all tools are created equal. Just as well as most majority of the tools will technically get a job done, but there are some other tools out there that can get the job done a whole lot much more efficiently without unnecessary error, while technically removing something in general. Okay. What I'm going to start with towards the back over here, as you can see, all right, this is a particular piece of hardware. I didn't go into my spare hardware box, to get out certain particular fasteners. This is just a particular piece of hardware from a puller set, as you can see. Okay. Just as well as not all tools are created equal. Some of the fasteners and hardware that is used on certain particular items and vehicles and just about anything that assembles a particular unit. Some of the metals are different, just like I explained when using an impact socket testically compared to using a chrome socket. Okay, so in some instances where you may technically use a ratchet, and say for instance you was using a shallow socket, and you're in an enclosed area and it's hard to get in. As you can see, here is a Proto Professional. This is a 9/16 socket right here. As you can see, this is made by Proto. This is USA made. Okay, so just as a example, just say for instance you was in an enclosed area, and say for instance you couldn't get a shallow socket or a deep socket or get a particular ratchet in, your next following option would technically go to using some of your normal standard wrenches, whether it be combination open and 0 degrees, depending upon the application, depending upon the clearance that you may technically need. There may be some instances at times where you may have to turn around and go to a selection as far as what we're taking a look at that is laid across the tool cart. Okay, which there are different options. Okay, but some do work more better than others. Okay, just as well as there's many different options, there's also issues with some of the options that are available, even though technically they can get the job done. But what would make the job a whole lot much more efficient with less error, okay, is what we're going to basically take a look at in today's discussion right now. What I'm going to start with over here, these are your Knipex. Okay, the part number for these right here, if it will focus in properly, let's see if we can get it to focus in properly, is 806-03250. As you can see, these are made in Germany. Okay, this is from 52 millimeters to 2 inches here. Okay, so as I'm picking up this set first, okay, this would be one of the top options, in as far as removing something with less error, okay. The drawers do not technically have teeth like some other options that you see technically laying out on top of the tool cart. There's a reason why I have this particular wrench side by side with some would call adjustable wrench, with some would know it by, most individuals know these to technically be crescent wrenches and things like that of that nature. Adjustable crescent wrench, which is basically made by Milwaukee. As you can see, what we have over here is a pair of snap-on pliers. Okay, these are made in the USA. The part number is 137ACF. Okay, there is a difference when it comes to a set like this, testically compared to all the other individual sets that you see along the line. But I will get back to that because that will be pertaining to the jaws, okay, and how they're designed at its heads. As you can see here, this is a pair of Milwaukee lineman wrenches. There's something that I want you to take notice to when it comes to these lineman wrenches. As you can see, I'm holding them completely flush, okay? But if you can see the gap at the top, you can see that they do not close flush at the top of its jaws, okay? You can see the gap. But these are used for three different purposes. As you can see, you have a feature here just as well as you have a cutting feature here, okay. And then you would also have a bite down feature here, but the only difference with that is due to the fact that you can see that there is a gap in between and that they do not close flush, okay. So, in some instances, depending upon what the job may possibly be, sometimes it could be an issue, sometimes it cannot. There are other options out there, that work a little bit more better. I'm not knocking the brand or shooting down the brand. Once again, it's always, get what works best for you and the best bang for your buck and things like that of that nature. Moving along, what we're taking a look at here is some needle nose torque locks. Okay, as you can see here, these are USA patented. And when it comes to these particular sets, you somewhat have the same issue. Okay, they are closed all the way to its end. But if you take a good notice to the teeth, how they do not lock flush. Okay, on the smaller set, there is more of a difference between the bigger set here. Okay, now when it comes to removing certain particular fasteners and things like that of that nature, like I was stating, it would be best to have a particular set that's like this. Okay, once again, as you can see, between the jaws there are no teeth, okay, and it has a lock engage mechanism that actually locks it into position. With some of the other features amongst some of the other items that are laying across the top of the tool cart, just so to say, like these particular Milwaukees that you see here, okay, you have one set that actually has a locker mechanism, but the locker mechanism is not as aggressive as you would technically have with the Knipex. The more pressure applied, the more these technically lock down, just as well as Knipex water pump pliers. Okay. Once again, when it comes to the jaws, as you can see, these are flushed, but as you can see, the gap in between the teeth and the lockdown amongst some of these. So just hypothetically speaking, say you needed to use, okay, some of these particular options that were laid across. In most instances, especially depending upon the metals, because some are softer in design than some others out there. But you get the idea that some is some softer than some others. So in most instances, options like these are more liable to round fasteners off, not just as well as round fasteners off, but also mar them up. Okay, which depending upon what type of work that you do, if you work in a professional settings, marring up fasteners and rounding off fasteners is mainly more a no in our field, but it does happen. Okay, when using the wrong equipment applied to certain particular applications and things like that of that nature. When it comes to, as you can see, the two that are sitting here that are more like one another, but technically they are different because these are lineman pliers. Once again, like I said, if you notice how it doesn't close tightly at the top, but when you take a look at the snap-ons, okay, this is a difference, okay, when applied and when needed. Okay, so a set like this, I highly suggest a set like this. Okay, before when you're taking a look at no matter what brand, it doesn't necessarily have to be Snap On. Okay, it can be just about any brand, but these are things that you want to take a look at before purchasing. Okay, once again, depending upon what type of work that you do, if you are using certain things for home use, it is what it is. But when it comes to more specialized work and more professional work, where you're dealing with other people's merchandise and things like that who are paying and having services rendered, you want to be a whole lot much more careful with working on certain people's items and things like that. So when it comes to, between the two that you would technically see here, me, in my honest opinion, this would be the better option to go. Okay, it's not to say that, these don't have teeth and they adjust, okay, but they can spread and it's more liable for a wrench like this to slip and still round off a fastener technically compared to one that is technically like this, because it locks into place, and the more pressure that you put down on the fastener, it tends to bite a little different, but the bite is much more better than with an option like this than technically using an option that actually has teeth. Because once again, you don't want to mar up fasteners, nor do you want to round them off. Okay, so this is a good item right here, that I suggest, for individuals out there who's unfamiliar with them. Most majority of people, they are familiar with the brand. Okay, but this is something that I highly suggest over some other brands and things like that of that nature. All right. Okay, now as you can see, I have the needle nose torque locks connected to this particular piece of hardware, right? So there's something that I'd like you to take notice to. Okay, if it'll focus in real well. If you notice on the bottom end side, it's flush flat. But if you take a look at the top, okay, it's not flush flat at the top. So in some instances, this is where you would know that something like these would round off the fastener immediately because it's not gripping on both ends. Okay, it's only flush flat at its bottom side. To get a little bit more closer, as you can see how it's gripping on an angle at the top of the jaw. Okay, and it's not flush flat like the bottom. Okay, and these are locked down very tight. Okay, so this is why I was saying that using the Knipex or the crescent wrench is a better option than going in this direction. But sometimes you don't always have the proper equipment around, and just hypothetically speaking, these may be the only things accessible to you. All right, but if they are the only things accessible to you, um, you know these are just some things that you have to um, keep in mind when doing certain particular work. Okay. All right. Now we're taking a look at the crescent wrench. Okay, with the fastener, and the hardware is flushed all the way towards the back end of the jaw. Okay. Now, these work, kind of well, but in some instances, these can become an issue also, with rounding certain things off depending upon the leverage and the particular force. More enough at sometimes with certain crescent wrenches, sometimes they spread, and as you can see, the mechanism doesn't stay, fully engaged or fully locked, and they start to open when you start to apply pressure. So this is what enables, certain particular tools, just so to say, like this, that will round off particular fasteners. All right. All right. Taking a look at the Knipex now. Like I said, I like, how these hold their particular position. And as you can notice, without the teeth, that everything sits flush flat against the fastener. Plus, you have the engagement, of the push lock. Okay. And the more leverage and the more torque and force that you put down, okay, it locks things into position. Okay. So, like I said, these are definitely an excellent brand. I definitely recommend them. Once again, there are a lot of individuals out there who is familiar with the brand, but and some of these reviews and some of these videos, it still need to be put out there for the individuals who technically do not have a mechanical background. Okay, this is not a tool truck brand tool, but it is distributed and sold by other tool truck brands, just as well as they're rebranded and things like that. But this is an excellent item right here, well worth the money, especially over some other particular brands. I'm not quite sure about the warranty on Knipex, because I never actually had to warranty anything out on Knipex, but I'm quite sure, that information is out there for individuals who need to obtain it when those certain situations present themselves and things like that. Okay. All right, so pretty much we're about to end this video right about here. Today is Tuesday. Like I said, want everybody to enjoy the rest of their evening out there. And until that next tool review, that next modification video, that next tool cart tour and things like that of each and every category, like I keep stating, that I tend to put on this channel. We're going to check you later. Everybody enjoy your day out there and have a great week. Okay? Peace.